Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a video and podcast show that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, I have with me a very successful professional and an entrepreneur, Rakesh Sarin. Rakesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashutosh.
Rakesh is a global business leader and entrepreneur. He has spent a lot of time in energy with companies like Wärtsilä and Suzlon, and he's from IIT and the London Business School. So, Rakesh, tell me, what would you say are three key milestones in your life or career?
Ashutosh, definitely, we have a lot to say about, our journey. But I recall my first milestone, which has helped me to, change the orbit, was when decided in a management program that I'm going to put myself on a continual education program.
Okay.
Meaning I would invest on myself every single day. And that is by seeing, by listening, and by reading. And I have been, I must say, a very ardent follower of that change one.
Okay.
As an outcome of that, I also started writing my dream book.
Okay.
And that was, I passed out my engineering in 1976. And sometime in mid-90s is when I started writing my first dream book. And there, I did it jointly with my wife. I'm very happy to say that, 99% of them have come true. But when we wrote in mid-90s, it was not looking possible, to a common eye. Then, the second change which came in my life was when I moved to the global scale. And I've operated in two occasions. One as the head of sales and marketing of Wärtsilä all over the world on the power plant side. And second, when I was president for the energy solutions around the world. And what changed out there is that at my second rung of leadership, I had something like 52 nationalities working. And I realized that the core of the core of the core, neither the people is the same. So that gave me a huge people dimension, in my whole understanding of how the business is done, who does the business, how the customers look at the business. And then the last one is, which happened very recently, and that is that when I got into my own bootstrap startups, because I was used to a very secure life.
Correct.
And now I got into the excitement of a new kind of excitement in a new phase. So these are the three, if I say, are the top three milestones.
Terrific. And before we get into energy and JOP Inc., did your dream book get published?
No, I never published the dream book.
Okay.
But I carry it with me.
Okay.
It has what I want to do, what I want to have, what I want to become. And now I started the new one. So I'm in process of visualizing and really seeing that. And now the dreams which are coming are absolutely of different order.
I agree.
And they're very exciting and energizing.
Sometimes I've written so many books. Sometimes it's worthwhile putting your dreams into a big book for the people out there, because look at the learning they'll have from you. So let's move on. Let's talk about JOP Inc. Tell me about this venture.
So, as I mentioned, that people are the prime mover of the businesses. So I have started two ventures. One is a JOP Inc. We registered that in US. It's a deliver corp, and we want to take it to the funding rounds out there. And JOP, essentially, the tagline is joy of performance.
Okay.
Especially today, with the kind of agility which is needed, the days of the balanced scorecard and all is gone. But today, the philosophy of OKRs, objective key results, is becoming very, very potent and useful, which industries can use to their advantage. But it is not just JOP is not just the technology tool for OKR, but it is much beyond that. And we have strategized that it is the technology that work. And then before that, it is also there is a consulting piece, which we are going to join hands with people so that the business performance of the companies can be enhanced.
Very interesting.
So that is the wellness of the companies.
Okay.
The second one, my startup is named as Wellness Mandala.
So I'm going to come to
So
that.
Wellness Mandala.
So let me come to
Okay,
Wellness
great.
Mandala a little later. But you spent so much time
Great.
on energy. I want to be able to pick your brains on your thoughts on energy. So let's start with, when we were growing up, and I think you and I are of a similar vintage. When we were growing up, electricity was expensive, fuel was expensive, it was, in short supply. Today, energy has been commoditized. What do you see for the future of energy?
In fact, it is already visible. The whole energy scenario is up for a humongous change. And right now we are at the cusp. Things are happening. The renewables are coming in at a very, very rapid pace. Nobody could imagine that there could be an energy which is cheaper than coal.
Correct.
But today that's a fact. New forms of energies are coming, and the world is seeing that there is the electron what you get in the house is kind of a co-creation between the conventional and the new form of energy. In fact, I'm on advisory board of a company called O2 Power, which is a joint venture of Temasek and EQT partners from Sweden. We are looking at deploying 4 gigawatts of renewable energy, and I'm seeing it with a very close quarters how the country, and here I'm talking about India, is looking at the energy format, how these renewables are bringing now even the firm energy into the grid, how the country policies are shaping up, to help entrepreneurs and developers and OEMs to move in that direction and take their support. So a lot is happening, and I think we are heading towards a zero carbon energy format.
Okay. And do you also think we're reaching a stage where energy will be almost negligible in terms of cost?
So the cost is already looking south, and going forward, that's the direction it is taking.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And, I was reading about energy when I was preparing to talk to an energy guru. I was reading by 2040, India's energy requirements will be equal to that of USA today. How will this energy be met?
Yeah.
Or the needs be met? I mean, you said you're going to be producing 4, but the amounts, it's huge.
So I'm very clear in my mind, this will be harnessed from the sun god and the wind god and, the water. So I see that the solution is the renewable. Okay. And then the second part, which is going to play a very important role, is that how do we make it stable? The variability of the sun and the wind energy, how to take care of that. And there, our storage technology is growing at a very, very decent pace. And we are again at the cusp where the storage would be available to balance the power.
Okay.
So that's clearly the direction. Even you look at the big oil majors and all, so they're all looking at the renewables in a very, very interesting manner. Okay. Even, the energy coming from the ground, for example, ethanol, bioethanol is from corn, for instance, and from other bio waste is taking shape, the more cost effective and reliable solutions are being formed on that front.
Okay. But now let me ask you a silly question, but from a perspective of a consumer. When we moved to Gurgaon in 2000, we were always told this is the millennial city, which was surplus in power. 20 years later, from a consumer perspective, no matter how much extra energy we are producing, we still don't have uninterrupted power. What is the problem and what is the solution?
Very, very well put, Ashutosh. In fact, today, you rightly said we have surplus of generation capacity. Our transmission line, the national grid and the state grids are robust. Commendable job has been done by the country. The issue right now is in the distribution. Okay. That's where the rubber hits the road. Okay. And a lot of stuff is happening around distribution. If you look at the new policy frameworks which are coming. So the intent is to make it robust. And I'm hopeful that we will be there.
Okay.
So if you compare early Gurgaon versus today's Gurgaon, the genset bill, which we get in our condos is minuscule.
Correct.
I remember for initially in my condo for almost 8 months, the entire condo was running on diesel power.
Right.
Which is a colossal waste and so expensive.
Correct.
So we are getting there slow and steady. And I think in a couple of years, we should be 24/7.
I hope so. And I wish that actually happens. So, Rakesh, let's move to your new baby, Wellness Mandala. Mandala seems like a Buddhist name to me, but tell me about this venture.
Since I have my background in the corporate world, we are so much focused on our financial capital. We exactly know what is the IRR, what is the cash flow, what is the EBIT, and blah, 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 But in this race, often, we forget the core of the core of the core capital, which is the human capital.
Correct.
And fortunately, I've seen, having worked in Wärtsilä, a Finnish multinational, platinum standard governance, there, the work-life balance, there was a lot of focus on that. And even in our board level and in a team, we used to measure our wellness. And, we used to focus on the wellness aspect. But that was on one area. Whereas when we talk of wellness is a whole mandala, as you rightly said. So we have created this company, which is Wellness Mandala, from a very, very holistic perspective.
Okay.
And we are working on the cause and effect. So often the cause is out here and the effect is seen, the person gets diabetic.
Correct.
And then, it goes on and on and on, One thing leads to other. So in Mandala, we have 5 domains. First one is a joy capital. We call it capital,
Yep.
So joy capital, we try to understand that what is the stuff going out here, in terms of relationship, in terms of self-esteem, in terms of various aspects which impact our thought process.
Correct.
And for that, we are developing a very interesting tool. In fact, Dr. N.K. Chadda, who is the former head of psychology of Delhi University, he's a chief psychometrician. He's joining our board, advisory board. So this tool would be ready in another month or so. We are going for a big pilot. Second mandala, what we are taking is our fitness capital, which measures your, physical and muscular and flexibility aspect. Flexibility is extremely important. The third one, is very interesting. We call it vital capital. And vital capital essentially gives the current as well as the future prognosis of various organs in our body, right from mind to heart to kidney. And we have imported a machine from US, which is FDA approved. So we'll do it on the site with the clients. The fourth one, we take the traditional blood picture. So we call it hemocapital.
Okay.
And the fifth one is where we call, which has very close link with joy capital, and that we call self-care capital. Okay. So how are we, and in self-care, we're talking about 9 laws of wellness. In fact, 8 laws are very popular philosophy. It's available on the Google everywhere. And we added another law in that, which we call the space law.
Okay.
So these mandalas put together gives us a score of the individual. It also gives an index for example, a board or a team or the whole organization. And when we measure something, it improves. And when we measure and recognize and, give a pat, encourage, it improves even faster. So our mantra is that let us measure. And then, we have also set a very interesting reporting format on our technology platform. And post that, so once we measure, what next? So we are putting a very strong advisory, again, technology enabled. And in this advisory, we are going to handle the emotional aspect as well as the fitness aspect, as wellness aspect overall.
Very interesting.
And we'll be having very trained counselors with us.
Wonderful. And then how does, the joy of performance from the US and Mandala integrate their operations?
In fact, they're so much intertwined.
I know.
A happy, healthy person performs better.
Yeah.
So in fact, Job Inc., Joy Performance is also getting launched in India.
Okay.
And we are getting ready for February. Mandala, Wellness Mandala is getting launched in December in India. And ultimately, the Wellness Mandala will also go to US and other parts of the world. So that's my vision, is that one is the wellness of the organization and other is the wellness of the people who work there. So that's the idea, and both ultimately create joy.
I agree. Well said. So I'm going to move to the last segment of our talk, which is some questions for you personally. My first question is that what does success mean to Rakesh?
So, it's a very deceptive world.
Mm-hmm.
I have coined a 4-minute affirmation process. Mm-hmm. I call it SOHAMS.
Okay.
SOHAMS is an acronym of Synergy of Hand, Mind, and Soul.
Okay.
After taking my shower and all, I sit down, and then I recite my affirmations, 11 affirmations. I call them 11 soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
And these soulmates give me a very quick dipstick where I am.
Okay.
So for me, I get kind of a inkling that how happy I am. And at the same time, they also give me a kick that, come on, you got to, for example, pick up on this aspect. For example, and I have symbolized them. So this is a finger of ego, this is truth, and this is when you merge your ego in the truth, you conquer yourself and the world. So if I get a negative feel that, look, somewhere I have lost out, there I'm not successful, and it is a daily affirmations that help me in keeping on track.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So my next question is that after such a successful corporate career, after launching 2 new entrepreneurial ventures, where do you draw your inspiration from?
So I draw my inspiration from 2 sources. One is my dear mother. She is 87.
Wonderful.
She is absolutely self-dependent.
Okay.
She has very interesting tasks set out for her. She looks after a Shiva temple, which my father helped constructing. Okay. And it's a family temple, and she is so much in demand.
Okay.
So I always get inspired. The first message on my WhatsApp comes from her in the morning, which I read. At times I don't respond to it, but she keeps on. She's persistent.
Wonderful.
Second is a person, my great-grandfather, who was a very spiritual person, and I never seen him in my life. He went away before I was born, but my dad told me a lot of stories. And through the power of storytelling, what my dad told me, maybe he led me to him, and I see him as my guide, my great-grandfather, Rai Bahadur, Dr. Ranjit Singh Sarin.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So my next question is that, you just mentioned every morning you wake up after your shower, you sit down, think of the 11 points.
Soulmates.
Your soulmates. How do you set your personal goals?
So my personal goals, if I may say, they are in 3 categories. So one is that I must, which is a daily goal, I must take care of myself, my mind, body, and soul. And I do a ritual which lasts about 2 hours or so. And I can't live without that. Second one is that I have a weekly planner where I list down my personal things to do. And now, since I'm into so many places, I'm also an advisory, and I'm also on the board of the companies and all. So I try to see and bucket them into the week. And what is 1 or 2 most important things I must do to leave an impact on that business or that project. Okay. The third one is a long term, which is maybe 10-year aspect. By the way, I'm 65. Okay. So I see 10, 20 years, and that is my dream book, which is also, by the way, I've chosen the one with a mandala on it.
Okay.
So I started writing this, and I know that next 3, 5, 10, 15 years, I should be ticking those. That's my true energizer, in a long-term perspective.
Wonderful, wonderful. My next question is that if you were a role model to millions of children who closely followed you and your life choices, what is the one thing you would change in yourself?
that's a very interesting question. I think I'll get into my entrepreneurial journey much earlier and take the risk, move away from a very secured and cozy life, cozy in a different way, where the money keeps coming in, it doesn't go out, in a big chunks.
Correct.
So I would be more risk taking and start the ventures for goodness of the people, much earlier.
Interesting. And Rakesh, my last question to you, and this comes back to the pandemic that the whole world is faced with. How are you rethinking your life in a new world order?
So I want to dwell in two ways, and ultimately they both converge. Number one is, since I come from the energy sector, I want to leave the world more greener and cleaner.
Correct.
For people to breathe fresh air. And the second one is that I want to impact the wellness of the people, millions and billions of people, in a holistic manner, rather than in a world which is more reactive and heading towards the sickness industry. So I want to really propagate and join hands with so many big gurus and leaders who are already there to strengthen the movement of holistic wellness. Nice. So that people live with joy, that these two things, I would say.
Very nice. Rakesh, thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I wish Joy of Performance, GOP Inc. and Wellness Mandala lots of success.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashutosh. Really appreciate reaching out. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.